Did you know family courts have a hidden financial trap for dads who fight narcissistic mothers? Take a look at this.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're cutting through all that viral internet advice and those intense opinions you've probably seen, and we're zeroing in on the actual financial mechanics driving state child support systems. We're looking strictly at the source material here, actual federal statutes, landmark court cases, and practical legal strategies to really unpack this alleged $735 million kickback structure. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. $735 million. That is just a staggering federal figure, and it's allocated to states for the fiscal year of 2025 alone. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. This isn't money going directly to families. Nope. It's actually a specific pool of federal funds used to pay states based on their performance in collecting child support. So as you can imagine, legal advocates point to this massive figure as the absolute root cause of a highly aggressive enforcement environment. It's essentially a massive financial carrot dangled in front of state agencies.
To understand exactly where all that money comes from, you have to look at 42 U.S.C. 658A. This is the federal statute that actually authorizes those financial incentive payments. Now, critics often describe this as a highly controversial kickback structure. Why? Well, because states are essentially paid a bonus for the sheer volume of child support they manage to collect. So advocates argue this creates a huge financial incentive for states to treat citizens not necessarily as families in need of help, but basically as revenue sources used to capture those federal dollars. So let's move right into Section 1, the machinery, understanding Title 4D. And this brilliantly illustrates how that money gets divided up. Out of that huge $735 million budget under Title 4D, roughly $705 million goes toward those general state incentives for hitting collection metrics. But advocates highlight a deeply concerning slice of this pie. $30 million goes directly to training judges and attorneys. You know, critics raise some really serious conflict of interest questions here. Think about it. If the very judges adjudicating your case are funded by the exact same budget that demands high collection rates, is the system fundamentally compromised from the start? Which brings us to a really fascinating landmark Supreme Court case, Blessing versus Freestone. Historically, when custodial parents received government assistance, the state obviously had to spend money. Well, Title 4D was actually built to recoup those costs directly from the non-custodial parent. So based on legal interpretations of this specific case, critics argue that the modern child support system was actually built to reimburse state welfare spending. It literally wasn't designed to directly benefit the child. That brings us to Section 2, the conflict, due process and quasi-courts. Advocates frequently pose this exact incredibly important question. How can you possibly get a fair trial in a state court that is literally incentivized to find you guilty? If the state is receiving federal bonuses for establishing support orders, how can any individual expect a fair, unbiased hearing? This strikes right at the very heart of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which, as we know, guarantees that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. But critics argue that due process, the fundamental right to a fair trial, to be heard, and to actually face your accuser, is nearly impossible to find in a system so heavily driven by collection quotas. To really get this, we have to contrast two distinctly different legal venues. On one side, you've got administrative quasi-courts. These are run by state agencies, like the Department of Revenue. They're built for absolute speed. And honestly, they function essentially like rapid collection agencies. On the other side, you have traditional circuit courts. These are run by actual judicial judges, and they're built to protect constitutional rights. They allow for proper legal discovery where you can actually slow down and examine the facts of a case. Now, in those rapid administrative courts, they operate on what many consider a pretty dangerous presumption, legally known as prima facie. Basically, if you fail to respond to a piece of mail, the system legally interprets your silence as your consent. They just presume guilt and immediately begin garnishing wages. And this administrative overreach actually became so severe that back in 2016, the Department of Justice had to step in and issue a Dear Colleague letter. They explicitly warned state courts against these kinds of unlawful administrative punishments. Let's look at Section 3, navigating the legal system. So the crucial point is, if you ever find yourself caught in this machinery, family law experts emphasize that you need to get out of the administrative process immediately. Step 1, object in writing within the specific window they provide, which is often just a tight 20 days. Step 2, explicitly demand that your case be transferred to a standard circuit court. And Step 3, proactively file your own formal custody case. You really have to establish your rights before the state steps in and dictates them for you. Once you're actually in a proper circuit court, attorneys point to one highly effective method to prevent those unfair calculations, and that is securing joint physical custody. Because these support formulas heavily weigh overnight stays, legally establishing shared placement ensures the calculations actually reflect reality. It completely bypasses that default presumption that you're simply an absent parent. Now, what's really interesting about this is that there are a ton of viral internet myths out there, claiming you can magically get a case thrown out just by demanding your co-parent's financial documents. But family law attorneys warn that this just isn't some magic trick. In standard primary placement cases, the custodial parent's income is actually often legally irrelevant. Demanding financials really only matters in a few specific scenarios, like when you already have shared placement, or if you're asking for deviation for special expenses, or in cases that also involve alimony. At the end of the day, knowing the actual law of your specific state is absolutely your best defense.
We've traced the federal incentives, all those deep due process concerns, and the necessary legal strategies to navigate it all. So I want to leave you with this one final thought. If this administrative system, fueled by a $735 million kickback structure, is structurally built and financially incentivized for state revenue generation rather than genuine family welfare, how must we radically rethink our entire approach to family court? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions and keep learning.
Most men think hiring the most aggressive lawyer will win them custody. But a high-conflict mother will deliberately drag out email chains and cancel visits just to force your lawyer to bill you for thousands in procedural paperwork. Stop wasting your life savings trying to argue with someone who wants you broke. What you should have done is force all communication using a platform like DadAide and use legal frameworks that shut down her games instantly. If you keep playing her game, you will run out of money before you ever get near custody or let alone visitation. Never accept a verbal custody change from a narcissistic mother, no matter how nice she sounds today. Listen to me closely, because this mistake ruins thousands of dads or legal fathers or whatever you think you are. Most guys think a friendly text or a verbal handshake to swap weekends is fine because they want to keep the peace. But the moment you drop the kids off, she will report you for a missed visit or use the extra days you gave her to claim you abandoned your schedule in court. What you should have done is instantly document the agreement in writing and file a formal stipulation with the court clerk. If you rely on her word, you are giving her the ammunition to take away your custody rights. Stop trusting the trap. A narcissistic mother will subtly brainwash your children against you, and if you react the wrong way, you are doing exactly what she wants. And most dads see their kids pull away, get angry, and then try to confront the mother with aggressive texts. But guess what? Why? Why? You just gave her family court exhibit A to prove you have an anger problem. What you should have done is document the exact alienating behaviors calmly. Then just record the drop-off interactions with DadAide and present the patterns directly to a custody evaluator. If you lose your temper, you play right into her narrative and risk losing your visitation entirely. Stop falling for the bait. Get the DadAide app for our specialized custody calendar, child expense tracking, legal strategies, and legal playbooks. So if your ex just got a raise but is hiding it to keep your child support artificially high, you are getting scammed by the system. Most fathers just accept the state's payment order because they assume the courts automatically check income updates. They don't. A narcissistic ex will happily pocket your extra cash while giving you zero flexibility with the kids. What you should have done is file a formal motion for financial discovery to force her to expose her true income and recalculate your payments downward. If you stay passive, you are throwing away thousands of dollars that should be spent directly on your children. Go to the link in my bio and download the DadAide app to use our child support calculators and discovery templates. Download DadAide today. If a narcissistic mother is signing your kids up for luxury camps and sports without your consent and demanding you pay half, stop writing the checks. But you are just funding her control complex while she violates your decision-making rights. If you lose your temper, you push your kids closer to the new dynamic and look unstable to the court. Keep your cool and protect your title. While filing for a court order restricting unrelated romantic partners from overnight stays during the adjustment period. If you lose your temper, you push your kids closer to the new dynamic and look unstable to the court. Keep your cool and protect your title. The moment a high-conflict mother threatens to pack up your kids and move across the country, your clock starts ticking. Most dads think she can't legally do it without permission, so they wait until she's already gone to call a lawyer. What you should have done is immediately file an emergency petition for an injunction to prevent the children from leaving the jurisdiction. If she crosses state lines and establishes residency elsewhere, your legal battle becomes 10 times harder and twice as expensive. Do not wait for her to pack the bags. Save thousands on lawyer fees using DadAide and learn how to save your life and relationship with your kids. What you should have done is reject the expense in writing, citing the specific clause in your order that requires mutual agreement prior to enrollment. If you keep paying blindly, you are enabling her to drain your bank account legally. Stop being her personal ATM. You're not an ATM, are you? A high-conflict narcissist will actively look for ways to twist a minor argument into a restraining order just to wipe out your custody overnight. Most men think innocence is enough to protect them, so they let their guard down during heated drop-offs. What you should have done is ensure every single exchange happens in a highly public, camera-monitored location and keep all communication strictly in text form. If you walk into an unmodified trap, a single false accusation can separate you from your children for months without a trial. Protect yourself before it happens. It might not, but what if it does? Look, I can't say it enough, prepare yourself. If summer is approaching and your ex is refusing to sign off on your vacation days out of pure spite, do not let her ruin your plans. Most dads let the weeks slip by while arguing over text, eventually giving up and telling the kids the trip is canceled. What you should have done is submit the exact travel itinerary via certified mail months in advance, and then file an immediate motion to compel if she fails to respond by the legal deadline. If you let her dictate your vacation time, you are teaching her that she owns your calendar. Look, go download the DadAide app to get ironclad vacation notice templates that hold her legally accountable. When a narcissistic mother starts blasting your personal life all over Facebook and TikTok to destroy your reputation, do not post a response. Most men get defensive, write angry counter posts, and turn the whole town into a circus, which judges absolutely despise. What you should have done is quietly screenshot every single post, catalog the defamation, and present it to your attorney as evidence of malicious disparagement. If you engage in a public internet war, you look just as toxic as she does to a family court judge. Stay smart and handle it like a professional. Go to the link in my bio right now and download the DadAide app to safely archive evidence. If your ex is rushing her new boyfriend into the picture and forcing your kids to call him dad, you need to act immediately but strategically. Most fathers get furious, start fights at drop-off, and alienate their own kids by forcing them to choose sides. If you lose your temper, you push your kids closer to the new dynamic and look unstable to the court. Keep your cool and protect your title. While filing for a court order restricting unrelated romantic partners from overnight stays during the adjustment period. If you lose your temper, you push your kids closer to the new dynamic and look unstable to the court. Keep your cool and protect your title. The moment a high-conflict mother threatens to pack up your kids and move across the country, your clock starts ticking. Most dads think she can't legally do it without permission, so they wait until she's already gone to call a lawyer. What you should have done is immediately file an emergency petition for an injunction to prevent the children from leaving the jurisdiction. Do not wait for her to pack the bags. I mean it, guys. Listen up and focus, get prepared, don't trust anything she says. Go to the link in my bio right now and download the DadAide app to get instant access to emergency relocation defense strategies and legal filings. Save thousands on lawyer fees using DadAide and learn how to save your life and relationship with your kids. If your custody order states you alternate claiming your child on your taxes, but your ex secretly filed early to steal the deduction, do not let it slide. Most dads just grumble, complain to their accountant, and accept the loss because they dread the courtroom fight. What you should have done is immediately file an IRS paper return. You can file it e-file, but file it with your court order attached to trigger an automatic federal audit on her fraudulent filing. If you let her break financial rules without consequences, she will keep pushing the boundaries every single year. Make her follow the law. Go to the link in my bio right now and download the DadAide app to get our family banking courses, legal guides, and financial child expense trackers. Look, try DadAide before you spend thousands on attorney fees. I promise you won't regret it. Download and save. Child support don't care about you. I mean, $29.99 monthly. Beat $8,500 on attorney fees any day. You can download DadAide with the link in my bio right now. Fight to win now.